Welcome to educator.com. This lesson is about solving two-step equations. In this lesson, we're going to learn to solve two-step equations in order to find monthly payment plan on a car or to find cell phone plans. Two-step equations involve using addition and subtraction as inverse operations and multiplication and division as inverse operations. Two-step equations will each have either an addition or subtraction operation and then either a multiplication or division operation. Let's try solving some two-step equations. 8y minus 11 equals 32. We'll begin with using the opposite or the inverse operation of negative 11 or subtract 11. We want to begin with removing these minus 11 because we're, in a sense, going opposite in our order of operations. Generally, when we do order of operations, we would want to add or subtract last. But since we're moving backwards in order to solve for the variable or isolate the variable, we're going to do that operation first. So instead of, for the opposite of subtract 11, or the inverse of subtract 11, I'm going to add 11 to both sides. 11 minus 11 cancels to 0, and I now have 8y equals 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, 43. Now the inverse of times 8 is to divide by 8, so I'm going to divide by 8 here. And so y equals 43 over 8. You would probably want to simplify that fraction. 8 goes into 43 5 times, which will give you 40 with the remainder of 3. So y equals 5 and 3 over 8. Let's check our answer. So in order to check our answer, we're going to take 5 and 3/8 and substitute it back in place of the y. So in place of this y. So 8, I'm going to use the original answer here, 43 over 8. Subtract 11 equals 32. The 8 and the 8 will cancel. 43 minus 11 equals 32. And yes, that's true. 3 minus 1 is 2, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So yes, we've done it correctly, and our answer is going to be y equals 5 and 3/8. Let's try another solving two-step equation. 32 equals t over 5 plus 8. Let's begin with canceling out the plus 8. The inverse operation is to subtract 8. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. 8 minus 8 cancels to 0. And 32 minus 8 is, we borrow, so that's a 4. 24 equals t over 5. The opposite of dividing by 5, that's what this fraction line means, is to multiply both sides by 5. So 5 over 5 simplifies to 1. That cancels out, so you've isolated t. And now we need to do 24 times 5. 4 times 5 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10, plus the 2 is 120. So t equals 120. And generally in algebra, we want to write the variable first. T equals 120. Let's check our answer by using substitution. So I'm going to take the original equation, 32 equals, and instead of t, this time I'm going to put 120, which was what our answer was, over 5 plus 8. So let's do 120 divided by 5 here to start simplifying. It'll go in twice, and 25 will go into 24 times. So 32 equals 24 plus 8, and yes, that is true. So our answer is t equals 120. So as a recap here, we're using inverse operations. The inverse operation of subtraction is to add, and the inverse operation of adding is subtracting. Next, we're using the inverse operations, multiplication and division, to cancel. And lastly, it's always a good step to take to use substitution to check your answer. Let's try solving some two-step equations in a word problem. In the word problems, we need to set up our own two-step equation. The book has not written the equation for you. According to the Food and Drug Administration, the recommended daily intake of iron is 18 milligrams. This is 6 less than 3 times the daily intake of vitamin C. What is the recommended intake of vitamin C? So here we are looking for how much vitamin C the Food and Drug Administration has recommended us to take. We always set our variable equal to the unknown, and what is unknown here is the amount of vitamin C. So let's set that just equal to the variable C. Now we need to work backwards. We know that the intake of iron is 18 milligrams, and we know that that's going to be 6 less than 3 times the daily intake of vitamin C. So that means that we're going to say 3 times the daily intake of vitamin C, so 3C, and then 6 less than that will give us 18. So let's find the recommended daily intake of vitamin C. The opposite of subtracting 6 would be to add 6. So 3C equals 24. And now the opposite, or the inverse of multiplying by 3, is to divide by 3. So C equals 8. So the Food and Drug Administration recommends 8 milligrams of vitamin C. Let's go back and check our answer. As the word problem is written, 3 times the daily intake of vitamin C. So that would be 24 milligrams if we're assuming our answer 8 milligrams is correct. And 6 less than 24 does give us the 18. Good. So what is the recommended daily intake of vitamin C? 8 milligrams. You spent $24 at the fair. It cost $3.50 for admission. You spent the rest of the money on 7 rides that all cost the same. How much was the cost of each ride? So at the end of the day, you've spent $24 at the fair. That's your total amount that you've spent. You started off by paying $3.50 just to get in the door. That was your admission. Then you spent the rest of the money on 7 rides that all cost the same. So our total is going to equal $24. That's how much we spent in the entire day. And what we don't know is the cost of the rides. So let's set that equal to R for cost of the rides. We started out with a flat rate of $3.50 just to get in the door. That was our admission. And now we have 7 rides all costing the same. So 7 times R. Let's go backwards. Let's take out what we paid for the admission, $3.50. That cancels out to 0, and we're left with 7R. And on this side we borrow, we have 50 cents borrow. 3 minus 3 was 0, and 20. So we spent $20.50 on rides. Now to find out for one ride, let's divide by 7. 7 divided by 7 cancels to 1, so that'll give us the one ride, R. And over here, let's do our division. 7 goes into 20 twice. Bring down the 5. 7 goes into 65 about 9 times. And 7 goes into 20 twice. So that'll give us 14. With about 6 cents left over. So since we can't say have a fraction in money, in this case we'll say each ride was about $2.92. So let's work backwards and see if this works out. $3.50 plus 7 times 2.92 equals 24. So since we had to round, that means there's a little bit of extra change left over. So let's take 292, working backwards, and we'll multiply it with 7. 14, 63, 64. 14 plus 6, 20. 2044. And add 350 to that, should be close to $24. So yes, $23.94 is close to $24. So I guess we could say this person spent about Okay, let's start extra example 1. 3 plus y over 1.5 equals 4.5. So you might see it written in your book with y over 1.5 as a fraction. Remember to move opposite the backwards in your order of operations when solving for the variable. So let's start off by undoing this plus 3. The inverse operation of plus 3 is to subtract 3. Remember to line up your decimals. This 3 is actually equal to 3.0. This cancels to 0, and you're left with y over 1.5 equals 1.5. The opposite of dividing by 1.5, that's what this fraction line represents, division, is to multiply by 1.5. Any number over itself equals 1. So 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1. So now we've isolated our variable. Y times 1 is just y, and we've gotten the y alone. Now we need to do 1.5 times 1.5. When multiplying decimals, you multiply them just as though they were regular numbers, but then at the end you need to remember to count your decimal places. 5 times 5 is 25, 5, 6, 7. Hold the place 5 and 1. 5, 12, 1, 2. 1 place, 2 place, 2 places. 2.25. So y equals 2.25. And we can go back and check our answer by using substitution. In place of this y, we're going to put the 2.25. And if it's correct, it should come out to 4.5. 3 plus 2.25 over 1.5 equals 4.5. So I'm going to do my division here, 2.25 and 1.5. You can't divide with the decimal on the outside, so we're going to move it over 1. It's going to become 15, and this is going to become 22.5. It will go, 15 will go into 22 once, and we're going to be having a remainder here. 22 minus 15 is 7. Bring down 75, and that'll go in 5 times. And our decimal is here, so we move it up 1.5. Good. So we come back to here, and we have 1.5. And 3 plus 1.5 is indeed 4.5. So we have done our problem correctly. Y equals 2.25. 150 plus 3x equals 750. So once again, we're going to use the reverse of our order of operations, and we're going to begin with canceling out the plus 150. The inverse operation of adding 150 is to subtract 150. This cancels to 0, and 3x equals 0, 0, 6. Now the inverse operation of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3. And x equals 200. Let's check our answer by substituting 200 in place of the x. 150 plus 3 times 200 should equal 750 if we've done our problem correctly. 3 times 200 is 600. And 150 plus 600 is indeed 750. So it is correct. So x equals 200. Now let's try some word problems where we need to write our own two-step equation before we can solve for the variable. A phone plan costs 35 cents per call and 5 cents per minute. You pay $1.20 for the call, the entire call. Write and solve an equation to find the length of the call. So we know the entire call costs $1.20. So after you hung up the phone, you would have to pay $1.20 on your phone bill. Initially, each call, no matter how long, you have to pay 35 cents. And then for every minute that you talk, you pay an additional 5 cents. So our flat rate is 35 cents that we need to pay. We don't know how many minutes. That's what we're looking for, the length of the call. So I'm going to say the length of the call equals m for minutes. So I'm going to say 0.05 for every minute. And that's going to equal a total of $1.20. Let's take out the flat rate that we have to pay. no matter how long the call. Borrow, so 10 minus 5 is 5. We borrowed, so 11 minus 3 is 8, and we borrowed. So we have to pay 85 cents for the number of minutes that we talk. And now let's divide both sides by 0.05, because the opposite of multiplying here is to divide. This cancels to 1, and 1 times m is m, so we've isolated our variable. And over here we need to do division. 0.85 divided by 0.05. We can't divide with the decimal on the outside, so I'm going to move the decimal over twice. So now my problem has become 85 divided by 5. 5 will go into 8 once, and will go in 7. So this phone call lasted 17 minutes. Let's go back and check our answer. 0.35 plus 0.05 times 17. If we did that correctly, it should come out to the amount of $1.20. So I'm going to take 0.05 and multiply it with 17. 7 times 5 is 35. I know the rest are going to be zeros, so I'll just leave that, and then a 5 here. 5, 8, with 2 decimal places, so 0.85. 0.35 plus 0.85 does in fact equal $1.20. So yes, we've done it correctly. This phone call lasts 17 minutes. Suppose you adopt a dog from the Humane Society. Then you buy 6 cans of dog food. The adoption fee is $120, and you spend a total of $133.50. How much does each can of dog food cost? Write an equation and solve. So what they're saying is the total that we spend is $133.50. And this includes you purchasing 2 things. Paying for the fee of the dog, $120, and then also going and buying some cans of dog food. So our flat rate is going to be $120. Next, we buy 6 cans of dog food, but we don't know how much the dog food costs. So I'm going to set that equal to our variable D. So 6 times D, 6 cans of dog food, plus the initial $120 adoption fee is going to equal $133.50. Let's take out the adoption fee, leaving us how much we paid for the 6 cans of dog food. So we paid $13.50 for the 6 cans of dog food. Let's divide by 6 now to find out how much for just 1 can of dog food. Bring up your decimal. So it seems that we paid $2.25 for each can of dog food. Let's go back to our original equation and substitute the value of D that we found, the $2.25, just to make sure that we've done our work correctly. So 120 plus 6 times $2.25 should give us the total of $133.50 that we spent. So over here I'm going to do $2.25 times 6 to find out how much the dog food cost. 12.15, 12.13, $13.50. And yes, indeed, 120 plus 13.50 will give me $133.50. So now I know I did my work correctly. So each can of dog food equals $2.25. I've written the equation here, and then I've gone ahead and solved it and gotten the price of the can of dog food. Thank you for watching educator.com.